Well, hey guys, welcome to our masterclass today. So here's a funny story. I am coming back at you here today, and this is not like if you joined the class before and you were on the live call. No, this is not the same class because apparently I forgot to hit record. That's the first time it's ever happened, and I really, really wish that I could like say that it was all because of Mercury retrograde, but that is not the case. So it's just me getting all excited about backlists and everything that we're going to be talking about today, and I totally spaced out, making sure that we, have everything ready to rock and roll. So that being said, I have so many things to share with you today. So I'm going to go back into it. I'm going to go ahead and re-record because this class is so important for those of us who are authors and have been authors for a long time. All right, so everything is on record. Let me hit the share button. Goodness. Okay, so welcome to Backlist to Bank, monetize your books with ChatGPT again, for those of you who have watched this before. All right, so welcome everybody. We're going to have a blast. My name is Carissa Andrews. If you don't know me, most people at this point who have been on my master classes do know me, but if you are one of them who does not, welcome. I'm super excited that you're here. So just like you, I am an author. I'm also the CEO of Author Revolution, and I help authors right now make sense of ChatGPT so that we can turn it into our #1 publishing tool. I know it definitely is for me. It is probably the #1 tool that I've ever used, and I've used a lot of tools. I'm a high strategic. I love digging into technologies. I love woo stuff. So for me, playing around with new technologies is a big thing. But when I tell you that ChatGPT is revolutionary, I definitely mean it. Okay, so in this class, we are going to turn your backlist into an evergreen sales engine. And it's, in my personal opinion, super important that we do that, especially as indie authors. If you've been around for a while, you likely have a backlist and you've been ignoring it. Okay, so does this sound familiar? Your backlist books feel forgotten. Are they collecting dust and you kind of like did something once with them and then totally spaced out how to do anything at this point and you wish that you knew what the heck was going on? Yeah, same, same. I was definitely one of those people that I wish I would have spent more time developing a plan with my backlist books as I was going forward. But at the time, I've been publishing since 2010. At the time, that wasn't the standard. It wasn't the norm. The goal was to get a backlist, but not necessarily how to monetize it. Okay. So perhaps you're like me and you were just told, just keep publishing because the best way to build more sales is to publish a new book, right? Maybe you've actually seen that where it's like you have this like spike because you have all of these sales when your book first launches and then it drops back off, even if you have a backlist of books and you don't know what to do about it because the only way to get those spikes is to publish another book. I know many authors who are on that hamster wheel who feel like the only way to keep making the amount of money they were making is to publish faster and to publish all the time. And maybe you're just plain burnt out from that cycle, right? Maybe you're burnt out from rapid releasing and being on that hamster wheel that doesn't allow you time to get off. Not get off, but you know what I mean. Okay, so by the end of this particular masterclass, we're going to have a repeatable ChatGPT powered backlist process to help us to like understand what can we be publishing or pushing right now versus just publishing something new. We're going to have tools and prompts to create context within minutes, not weeks. If you know anything about ChatGPT, you know it can literally create so much super fast. We're going to have a monetization plan that keeps revenue flowing in. And the reason for it is this whole ecosystem. And I will do a live demo and Q&A, which I don't have obviously the people aren't here to do a Q&A, but I did write down the questions that were asked at the end. And so I will give them credit and kind of go through the different questions that I could remember so that you have an understanding of what was asked afterwards. Okay, so if you know anything about me, you know that I am the queen of mindset, right? So I love I like understanding and love understanding how our minds work and how it impacts the way that we then show up in reality. So the backlist gold mine mindset really is understanding that your backlist is the most underused asset that you have in your possession, and it's something that you should be utilizing over and over and over again. because books do not expire like milk does. If you listen to my podcast this past week, I used this analogy and I thought it was good. It doesn't have an expiration date most of the time. If you have a nonfiction book, there's a potential that something could expire. But if you're writing fiction, the majority of us write in a way that it's very evergreen. Like we're writing themes and tropes and understandings that really don't matter. You're not probably putting a lot of dates necessarily in there. Maybe you are, but even if that is the case, there are plenty of books that people are still reading decades later, right? So it's just a matter of remembering that these books can be revitalized should we choose to do it. So in that regard, every single title then becomes a mini salesperson, right? Every single book that we have is an entry point into our back catalog, into our worlds, into the ecosystem that is our author career. And so when we look at our books in that way, we're able to connect them in a flow that really helps readers to understand where we are, especially if you are someone who likes to build funnels for your books. So when someone comes in, purchases a book, they understand how it's connected to the rest of your ecosystem. That's how you get readers who understand and want to keep coming back over and over again, right? And so our job then is to not only build that ecosystem, we want to have obviously funnels and we want to have ways for them to understand who we are. But in order to do that, we need to understand how that first initial process starts. So that's what this class is about. Because authors who use their backlist, they end up having those steady royalties coming in month after month. And they don't have to do as much work as authors who are trying to publish over and over again and then trying to push out ads and trying to figure out how's the best way to make sure that people are laying eyes on this new release. It's a completely different animal, okay? So why do we ignore our backlist? Well, if you've been around for a while, you've seen that the tried and true methodology mindset around indie authorship has really been publish fast or vanish. And that's been perpetuated by Facebook groups and old school advice. In my personal opinion, it started technically with Amanda Hocking. So she came out with books, very early on. She was writing fast. She was publishing quick, even more fast, I guess. The books weren't even necessarily good, but they were there, right? And they came out fast. And because Amazon was in the process of trying to showcase the benefits of having their platform utilized for authors, because not everybody was keen on the whole self-publishing thing yet. It was very new at the time, and people were kind of like, what? They used her and propped her up in a way because she made millions, right? She made absolute millions of dollars in that beginning because of the way she published and produced. They used her as a way to be able to pull people in, and people flocked to Amazon publishing, right? At KDP. And so it worked in that regard. It worked for them. It worked for the exposure. It worked for what they needed authors to believe about their platform. And what's ended up happening is they've quietly rolled back some of that information, and the things that worked for Amanda Hocking no longer work because they obviously don't want to be paying out millions to every single person. They want to have gatekeepers again. And so now it's like our gatekeeping has switched from one to another, and it's just shifted a little bit. And so we as authors have to shift our perspective as well. So right now, the prevailing methodology is still publish fast or vanish, and we need to start shifting that. Two is that then that requires us to just focus on the next shiny book, right? So if we're not looking at our other books and we're publishing fast or vanish, then our entire focus, our attention is only on this next new shiny book. We are literally where attention goes, energy flows, and that flow is only on the new release, right? And so we don't have time, energy, or effort to put back into the backlist. And number three, we forget to nurture the ones that are already out because of that, because maybe we didn't like the way that they launched. Maybe we got lackluster reviews. Maybe someone didn't like it. Maybe it didn't get seen as well as we wanted to be seen. Maybe we spent money on ads and they got sunk into nothing and nothing happened. Whatever the case might be, there could be a reason why we're ignoring that list of books, and we're just kind of going, I'm not gonna deal with that, right? So that's why in essence we ignore our books. But I'm going to give you something else to think about. Again, if you've listened to this week's podcast, you've probably heard this, but if Taylor Swift can make a 13-year-old song a cultural moment again, you, my friend, can definitely breathe life into a book that was published 3 years ago. I'm obviously talking about All Too Well here, but she's done the same thing with her Taylor's versions, right? So as she was putting out the new versions of her albums, her backlist titles, her backlist catalog, she was naming them Taylor's versions. Now she wasn't doing that necessarily as a huge marketing promotion move. She was doing it because she needed more of the royalties to come to her so that she could bolster her coffers so that she could buy that back catalog. And at the time, she didn't even know if she'd ever be able to get that catalog back from the indie record or from the record industries, right? She wanted all of her titles to be her own. In essence, now she is an indie published indie musician, right? So that's huge. And so if she can do it, we can definitely do it. And it just goes to show you that with the right mindset and with the right outside the box strategies, we can make magic happen. So this is where AI comes in, right? So ChatGPT is the game changer in all of this. No longer are we just, doing the promo and ad slog. We are actually creating evergreen flows so that as we're putting out new books and as we are going through the year, we are actually utilizing everything that we've published from whatever until now to gain more momentum, to gain more visibility, and to gain more conversions when it comes to the sales, right? We want readers who understand the complexity of all of our creations, not just one or the latest release. So when we utilize AI, when we utilize ChatGPT, we are automating our brainstorming and copywriting is one of the biggest things. Now, for me, I am high strategic, I am high ideation, I am high maximizer in my Clifton strengths. And so for me, it's very easy to do all of those things. Like I can brainstorm till nobody's business. Like I can come up with strategies like nobody's business. Copywriting, not as great, but you know what I'm saying? So like a lot of that stuff for me is very easy. But for indie authors, what I've found over the years, because I've been teaching for a long time here, is that many of us don't have that in their wheelhouse. And so our writing capacity is so much stronger. We are way more artistic than we are strategic. And when that becomes the case, then doing some of this brainstorming stuff is a little bit more difficult. So ChatGPT helps us get over that hump by doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us. And for those of us who are high strategic or who are high ideation, it's actually kind of fun too, because now it's like we're brainstorming with someone who gets us, right? We're like, whoa, this is awesome because we're throwing ideas back and forth, and now this is great. ChatGPT can also help us to find hooks and angles that we would never have thought of. It can be in a variety of different ways, and we'll talk about a lot of those as we go forward through the rest of this class. But just know there's so many ways to be able to do this. And it keeps the process consistent and repeatable. So when you do this once, there's a couple of ways as to why this can be consistent and repeatable. Number one, if you're using the Launch Lab GPT that we created for the Launch Lab Masterclass, I've added all of the steps that we're going to be going through today into the masterclass or into the ChatGPT custom GPT for Launch Lab. So whenever you are doing an evergreen backlist launch, everything is in there already. Like it knows the steps that we're going to be talking about today and can help you walk through them and get a clearer picture on what you could be doing. Okay. But also, like I have a PDF that you can download. It's going to be in the email for you because this is obviously going to be the replay for you guys. It's going to be available through the email when you first get this video. And so make sure that you go back to it and download everything. If you're watching this in the Kajabi Masterclass membership, it will also be in the downloadables section. Okay, so it keeps things consistent. And whether you're using the Launch Lab GPT or you're using the PDF and just understanding what the steps are, that's completely up to you. But it keeps things in a way that no matter how many times you come at it, you can do this over and over again. Okay, and then get a quick sip of my coffee. Okay, so let's look at the ChatGPT backlist strategy. There's 3 monetization pillars that I need everyone to be thinking about. And they're kind of obvious once you see them, but if you've never looked at them this way before, it becomes a little bit more eye-opening, right? So step 1 is obviously visibility. You need to spotlight your books without sounding repetitive. So and not just repetitive. It's not like buy my books, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. That used to be the prevailing thing that everyone was kind of doing on Twitter and all the different places. The goal here is really how do we bring exposure and new eyeballs to this book or this series in a way that maybe we've never done before. And so that's where ChatGPT is going to help us to brainstorm and come up with ideas that we haven't done yet. Maybe we haven't even looked at our tropes well enough. Maybe we don't understand our tropes and our genre very well. Whatever the case might be, it's going to help us to intellectualize and then extrapolate and contextualize the information for readers. And sometimes I think authors, myself included, we have a hard time once we become an author, differentiating author from reader. I know in the beginning for me, it was hard for me to talk to readers because I was so ingrained and engrossed with the concept of being an author. And so when I would do promotions or do like when Facebook first did their like lives way back in the day, 2017 is when I first started doing Facebook lives. I was over here like, hey, readers, here's some really cool stuff. And it was all for authors. Like I was watching these things going, what in the world? What was I doing back then? That's so crazy. But when you get so ingrained in something and that's what's filling up your brain space, you can't even see what you don't know, right? Or what you're not realizing, that sort of thing, right? Your reticular activating system is wild. It filters out so much. Okay, so then step 2 in the monetization pillars, I saw pillar 2, I guess, is engagement, right? So once you get visibility, the goal then is to have them engaged with your books. You want to reignite that reader interest. You want them to be excited about this book. And remember, it's not milk. And so we can build this, like we can build the same momentum. We can build better momentum now that we know more information. Like there's all these different things that we can do to build more engagement this time around. And even if this time isn't the greatest, it doesn't mean we won't learn more information for the next time we build more momentum for the books. The goal is to remember that these things can keep building on each other. And maybe the more often you speak about it, even if it is in a repetitive, meaning like once a year cadence, the more people are going to gather and start to go, you know, I've heard of that thing before. Where did I hear about that? Maybe I'll go check it out. Okay. And then obviously conversion is the third pillar because we're going to be thinking about bundles and pricing and special editions or Kickstarters or new ways to be able to come at our books that are already out. We've done the hard work, right? We've written the things. We may as well keep utilizing them in a way that actually sells more books and gets us out there and more visible to our readers. Because every time we do that, every time we create something new within the context of something we've already got, it number one reignites it into our own energy field, right? Tension now on the backlist again, and it helps us to re-engage the readers who are wanting and looking for the different things that we've already put out there. So why ChatGPT works? Number one, the first thing is projects, right? So there's better memory and context retention when we're using a project. And if you'll see the image over here, it's for the 2025 ChatGPT PA. I created a masterclass all on how to create a PA for us. And in my personal opinion, it does a much better job than using a custom GPT. So even the Launch Lab GPT, it does a much better job at remembering you, specifically you. Okay. I can only go so far in how much I can give context and information into the GPT without knowing your information, right? The projects are going to be different. You're creating a project. The only problem with creating a project, though, is that you do have to have the paid subscription to ChatGPT. Okay. But it is light years ahead of using a custom GPT built by me or anybody else, or just using straight up ChatGPT because you're having to re-input the information over and over again. And that becomes tedious, right? It's not as cohesive as if you already do it one and done into your project and it retains all of that information for you. Plus, it's nicer to keep it all organized. This Virgo mind is very happy when things are organized. So there's smarter ideation and personalization, especially with the new ChatGPT 5. For those of you who haven't realized, ChatGPT 5 has rolled out. And so there's a lot more context and understanding within Chat 5. It has shifted the way that custom GPTs work. So like the GPTs that were built in 4.0, or if they were built in 03 or anything like that, they're a little bit different now. But you can switch them to 5. And so I'll show you that at the end, because that was actually one of the questions that Sherry asked when we were in the call. Okay. And then it can write in your voice with some training. So especially in the PA, right, into the project. Now, it's so funny because when I first started talking about ChatGPT and how it works for us, I was doing it in 4 books, 5 days. And I was like, there's no way that it's going to get to the point where it can write our books for us. I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. You can 100% upload your tone of voice, the way that you write, everything that you do, and it will learn the way that you be, and it will help you write. I personally use it, like if I'm not particularly feeling funny that day and I'm writing a rom-com, how do I make this scene funnier? And it will give me like little chunks of information or little dialogue blips that I can put in there. And I'm like, that's perfect. Yes. It will help me give me an outline of this to get started on a chapter if I'm kind of stuck and I'm like, okay, I'm not quite sure what to do here, but I know it should involve X. Like it will give me context. I don't typically let it write the whole thing for me because I personally enjoy writing. But if you were the type of person who wanted it to write for you, I would say you do you. If you want to train it in that regard and get it to the point where it understands what you're doing and you're willing to do the heavy lifting of the editing, that's on you. You can absolutely do that now. Okay, so let's get into the 6-step backlist monetization cycle. Now we'll go through each of these steps one at a time as well, but I just want to give you a quick overview. So the first one is you're going to identify obviously your priority title or your priority series. And then number 2 is ideation sprint with ChatGPT, because you want to be able to get some more information, think about new ways to be able to implement all the things that are going to be coming. 3 is going to be coming up with new offers and bundles and things that you can do in order to get readers to reignite that passion for those books or that book. Then once you have all of that information kind of built together, now you can do the content batch creation. So that would be things like, emails and newsletters. Well, emails and newsletters are the same, but you get the point. Subject lines, ad copy, social media posts, whatever. You can content batch everything out and get a really clear idea of what can be done. But then you also are going to do your launch calendar mapping. So you're going to create either a 30 or 90-day calendar. So you kind of know what's going to go on every day and you know what has to happen. So you don't get overwhelmed with this backlist. You don't get overwhelmed with the idea of like, what do I have to do with this thing? And when do I have to do it? It can just be done and it's no big deal. Okay. The greatest part about getting your calendar mapping is truly that you're in charge of it. And I'll tell you more about that as we get there, but just know like you don't have to let your calendar run amok. Okay. And then 6 is evergreen engine. And that's just basically reminding ourselves that there is a process to this. And so we can, schedule every 90 days or every 30 days to rerun all of this stuff over again so that we can now look at the next flow, the next books or series or whatever that we're going to be promoting. Okay, so let's go through these step at a time. Step 1, identify your backlist priority. Now, this is key, right? Obviously, you can't run a really good backlist promotion if you don't know which book you're going to do, okay? So you're going to use ChatGPT to analyze some key components of your books so that you can figure out which one would be best now. And the reason we do this with ChatGPT, for the most part, is because sometimes we are attached to a certain time or we think that something's going to be the best book or series, and there might be something that we're missing, okay? So it can come up with the seasonal themes that are in your books. It can look at your tropes and your genres and what might be really relevant right now. It can look at reviews and reader buzz and figure out like what is it that readers are looking for? What kind of expectation do they have? Do your books meet those expectations? Should you be highlighting the fact that your books meet those reader expectations? All the things, okay? So you're going to choose that title with the highest resonance right now so that you can hop right in to backlist promotion, because you could do it for next year, right? You could do it for January and start with January if you wanted. But for me, it's like, okay, your backlist books are sitting there collecting dust right now and they could be monetized for you. So let's start right now and just see if we can come up with the next plan. Okay. Step 2, you're going to do your ideation sprint with chat. Okay. You're going to feed chat things like your blurbs, those reviews and excerpts. You can do it in a way where you're uploading your full PDF once you figured out the title or the series, right? So that it has context to be able to do this ideation sprint with you. Right now, after step 1, it has the context of like what your books are about, and maybe the time frame, and that's it. So if you want to give it broader context and have it really deep dive, that's where step 2 comes in. So some of the things that we'll output are promo ideas, like where could you go promo, which could be like you're going to put your book 1 for free, and then book 2 for 99 cents, and book 3 for $3.99 instead of $5.99 or whatever it is, and you're going to go over to free Booksy and you're going to do whatever. It could be you're going to promo it with another author or be a part of a bundle, or all sorts of different ways. Like it can give you some really cool promo ideas. It's going to give you seasonal tie-ins. How do you make this thing super cool because of the season that it is right now? So for instance, we're coming up on September, and witchy season is about to start. And so we're going to have a lot of people looking for paranormal books and witchy books and things like that. So how can we tie that together with the books that you already have? You see what I'm saying? Then also bookish reframes. So for instance, if you had your books and they came out, and maybe at the time you didn't understand your tropes, maybe at the time you didn't understand your genre, maybe at the time you still don't understand there's some hidden jewels in your books, ChatGPT can read through your books and give you some insights into things that readers actually really like that maybe you never thought to highlight before. So it'll give you those bookish reframes to help you move into the next phase of promotion and see if maybe that way, that angle is going to be the way that people really resonate with your book. So in that frame of mind, then it gives you outside of the box marketing advice. It gives you ideas to try that maybe you've never thought of before. And it helps you to just really leverage the books that you have in a way that, I don't know, you can make it more fun and make it more interesting. I'm going to give you an example. And I think I gave it at the same point when I was doing the talk earlier. Out of the box marketing ideas can be they can come from all sorts of different places. But like for me, lately, I've been doing a lot of introspection on how do I make things fun again? How do I make things like really just cheeky and interesting? And how do I go about creating the promos, the excitement for my life, for my creations, whatever, in a way that is just a lot of fun. And so I've been retraining my reticular activating system using a different ChatGPT to make things more fun again, to make things more interesting, to create stuff in a way that is just kind of out of the box absurd. Because I know that for me, humor is a big way that helps me get out of my scarcity mindset. It helps me get out of my I'm too serious mindset and back into like who I really am. And so we've been doing a lot of reframing with being funny, right? And so this morning I asked Chad, I'm like, okay, so how do I go about like asking the universe, asking the quantum field, whatever, to send me more funny things? And so we came up with a plan. I did some dancing to Bare Naked Ladies, like the band, right? 1 week was the song. And when I was dancing to it and doing like just silly stuff, I got a sale through my store. And it was a sale on like an ebook audiobook bundle, and it was for a book 3 title that like of a series that I am not even pushing right now. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. That not only is it a backlist book, it's like deep backlist, and then on top of it, it was like the audiobook ebook bundle. But then I looked at their name, and I love this so much, and so it's just it because it makes me laugh, right? The last name was Butt, Butt. And like no shade to like having a last name like that, right? But it just made me laugh. I was just like, of course it was. Of course. Like I'm over here dancing to Bare Naked Ladies who are a bunch of Canadian guys, by the way, and usually not naked, but who knows? Maybe butt was the little wink or nod to it. But anyway, so what's nice about it is that when you're thinking outside the box, when you are shifting your mindset and retraining your reticular activating system, you think about things so differently. And ChatGPT can help you. Like if you wanted to do that in a way, like what funny ways can I do whatever? chat's going to help you. Like there's so many ways to look at how to come at your backlist. That we just don't even think about. It's just amazing. All right, step 3. I hope that anecdote helped you. All right, step 3 is offer and bundle strategy. At this point, you already know your title or your series that you're going to be doing. You've done some ideation on how you can link everything together. And so now it's time to figure out what your offers are going to look like. So when you're brainstorming with chat, you're going to come up with those bundles. Like, can you bundle ebooks and audiobooks together? Can you bundle the whole series together? Could you create something brand new that has never been done before? Could you, you know, create like a book box? Could you, like, whatever it is, like what kind of bundles could you create? Special editions. Can you create special editions? I know that with Book Vault, you can now do a lot of really cool things like hardcovers with foil and edges and all the things. So could you create some special editions? What kind of discounts or sales could you do? Like, is that an easier way to do? Remember, like your offers don't have to make you crazy. You don't have to be doing anything that is like going to add more work to you unless it sounds like fun. Remember, fun is the key here. So whenever you're creating stuff like this, always try to do it with fun in mind. Yeah, because I think, especially looking back over these 15 plus years, I wish I would have added more fun into my life. I think I started with that realm of fun and then got very serious very quickly. Because I learned, what was expected of the indie author industry, and it totally derailed my personal progress for a long time. And it changed the way that I looked at the world and the way that I looked at my author career. Okay, so it can also help you with cross promos with other authors. It'll help you come up with ideas like, should you be doing group promos on book funnels? Should you reach out and do newsletter swaps? Should you do, whatever? Do you have an author friend that you can ask to co-bundle something, like whatever? It'll give you ideas. Okay. Once that's done, once you have your offer ready to go, step 4 is to then content batch creation. What does that mean? It means generating a whole 30 days of promo in minutes, because the goal here is to have something in mind so that we know what to post when. And now I'm not saying that you have to do a crap ton of stuff and you have to be posting everything every day and you have to blitz it like crazy, unless you want to. Like, you can if you want to. I think back to like certain launches that I've done, and it was fun to do something every single day. But if you don't have the bandwidth for that, you are in control of telling ChatGPT what your parameters are. Like, you can be like, hey, look, I want this to be a lazy launch. I want my backlist to have some revitalized interest, but I'm only capable of doing something 3 days a week for it. You know what I mean? So like, give it some insights, give it some parameters, and it can help you with that. But it'll help you with creating your editorial calendar. So whether that be 30 days, or if you wanted to do a full 90 days of a rotating calendar, you could do it that way as well. I am a big fan of quarterly strategy, because then you're able to see it 3 months together and kind of get a clearer picture. The roadmap, when you're only looking at 30 days, is a little bit squashed, in my personal opinion. I like to have just a slightly larger spectrum to look at. It'll help you then create those email sequences. So you could do funnel sequences. It could be, so the automated funnel sequences if someone buys. It could be newsletters. It could be promo emails. There's a lot of different things that you can create in just a couple of minutes. Social media posts. It can give you scripts. It can give you the descriptions. So many different ways. It just depends on what you post, like where you post. I personally no longer post on anything Meta or X. Not going to touch any of those with a barge pole. And so I'm using things like Substack and TikTok for the moment. Might be ending TikTok soon, but that's fine. Neptune is on my radar. Once it kicks in, I'm probably going to be over there. YouTube Shorts. YouTube. That's kind of been my place for right now. For Author Revolution, I don't know if I'm going to stick around on YouTube. I'm not quite sure. But for Manifest Differently, YouTube has been doing wonders over there. And so play around with what feels right. Play around with what feels like it's the best place for you. And then tell ChatGPT to create the information for that specific thing. Remember, Chat is here to help you create your business based off of your lifestyle, your interests. It's not here to tell you to go put it on Facebook if you are adamantly opposed to posting on Facebook. That's not its role. Okay. So you dictate, you're the CEO. Okay. All right. Step 5. I got kind of serious. Whew. Okay. Step 5, your launch calendar mapping. This is where everything comes together, because when we have a plan, we can implement. Okay. And we don't get nearly as scramble brained and like frazzled and all the things. When we have a plan and we just take it one day at a time, we don't have to be doing a bazillion things and oh my gosh, all the stuff and like, and then get totally confused and burn out. Our goal is to slot promo ideas into your 90-day or 30-day rolling calendar. When you do that, you know what to be posting each day. And typically it's like one or two things, and maybe not every single day, like I said. And so you know exactly what to do that day and then move on with your day. And if you're using chat to create the newsletters or the promos or the ad copy or the whatever, we're talking this should only take a couple of minutes. It's no longer like the days where like trying to write a newsletter is going to take you an hour and a half to write it because you don't know how to do copywriting or something. You know what I mean? It's so much easier, so much easier. It also will help us then balance the new release and backlist pushes. So obviously, as we're moving forward, we're not thinking just about our backlist. We're thinking about the new books that are coming out as well. And so when we have like I said, the 90 days is a better way to look at everything. When we're thinking about it that way, we want to look at it almost like when we're creating our outline for our books. I always start with like the big boulders. What are the things, the pivotal moments that I know have to happen when I'm writing this book? And so then I'll map those out. And then I start to fill in the blanks in some of the other scenes where it's like, I understand what happens in a first act. I understand what happens in a second act and a third act. So it's up to me then to start filling in the blanks of each chapter. How is this going to progress until we get to that big boulder? What's this going to be like? So our big boulders in this instance is going to be the new releases. It's going to be what's coming each part of the year. And part of the reason why I like doing quarterly releases is because it gives us just that little bit more space to be able to plan, to think, to breathe, to share. And so if we are doing a new release, for instance, every quarter, and then we're doing a backlist push every quarter, there are 3 months in the quarters. So you've got like a month either way to be able to kind of play around with having just a little bit of space to prep and plan for the next thing. So you're in essence doing something every other month. Yeah. And I will say that you can, like, if you have a new release coming out and you are choosing to rapid release like back to back to back, you could choose not to do a backlist push while you're doing the rapid releases during those months. So for me, this end of this year, I am going to be dropping Dirty Developments in October. Then I'm doing Right Frame of Mind in November, and I'm doing Write Your Reality in December on my site. And then when we hit the new year, they're going wide. And so I'm actually rapid releasing 2 weeks apart, Right Frame of Mind and Write Your Reality in January. And I'm doing Dirty Developments closer to Valentine's Day because it just makes sense for that particular book. When you're doing it like that, backlist promotion can either shift to the wayside, or you can think about like, how do I pull in the backlist titles at the same time? So like for Dirty Developments, for instance, that's a book 3. I can obviously pull in my backlist titles from my book 1, book 2 into the promotion of book 3. I could be putting Dirty Developments and Dirty Plans and Dirty Books at a discount as Dirty Developments is launching, right? So it's like we then figure out ways to be able to mesh everything up together so that it makes sense at the time. Now with the nonfiction titles, I have versions of Right Frame of Mind that existed, but that they've all been unpublished at this point because I'm doing a new launch of Right Frame of Mind. It's a 2025 edition. It's completely different. So I don't have any backlist titles that I can utilize here. So for me, that's just, we're going to publish those books and let them do their thing. But just keep in mind that when you're creating your calendar for your backlist pushes, you want to be able to balance it. And if you don't know how, if the strategy of that doesn't make sense, again, ChatGPT is your friend. It will help you figure out how to manage and master that. And so what happens then when we're doing this is you're creating quarterly momentum on your backlist titles while also doing your new releases. Now, if you're the kind of person that only does, let's say, a book a year, 1 book a year, you could do hypothetically like a backlist push every other month and just skip the month that your new release is coming out, for instance. You could do just twice a year if you can't think of doing that many promotions. Like, choose how you want to be able to do this and how it fits your energy and your books the best. But just know, like, the goal here is to create that momentum and that repetition so that it becomes a part of your author business to just be promoting your backlist as well as your new releases. Okay, so step 6 then is obviously to create that evergreen engine. What do I mean by that? It means you're going to be rerunning these prompts quarterly through ChatGPT. If you, like I said in the original class, if you create the prompts and you do the push and it kind of got lackluster, people seeing it or communicating or engaging with it or buying, could you just take what you did before and do it again? Like, literally same emails, same ad copy, same whatever? Yes, absolutely, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with like repeating it necessarily. Sometimes that does require, or it does, what's the word I want to use there? It does help us to have, when we have repetition, it helps it to sink into the minds of our readers, because often in a marketing context, we need to see something like 7 times before we go, I've seen that a few times now. What is that? I think I should go check it out. Are they going to remember that you're repeating the same thing from a year ago? Probably not. And if they do, they've got some stellar like reticular activating system, and they're probably neurodivergent. So their pattern recognition is off the charts. But even if that's the case, that's fine. Like, it's your job to get the stuff out there in a way that feels fun. And if it still feels fun and it still feels relevant, go for it. Okay. Let ChatGPT suggest your hooks and your timing for you. And the reason I'm saying that is because for many of us, maybe we launched a series at a time of the year when it just didn't make sense. Or maybe we've tried launching it at a time of the year where it seems like it makes sense, but it just doesn't. And so you want to try something new. Or sometimes we don't know that there are times of the year that certain types of books do better. Or, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different context into the publishing industry. And so if you ask ChatGPT to suggest your hooks and suggest the timing, it can really help not only mitigate some of the like lackluster engagement, but also to get your excitement up again, because now you're going to be doing this in a new way and seeing it, seeing how the evidence of it working is a lot more fun than like if you're just putting it out there and you're like, I have no idea if this is going to do anything. You know what I mean? So this creates then that perpetual motion machine for your backlist. It helps you to stay in that momentum of sharing your backlist, of building the bridges with your readers, helping them to understand that you have more books. And as more books get added to your backlist, you're obviously going to come up with new strategies and new plans to pull them into the promotion as well. The goal here is to build something that really helps your readers understand the scope of the worlds that you're creating, and help them to probably even understand your books and why they're the right fit for them in a way that they've never heard before. The only reason your books are fading into obscurity is because you're not sharing them. You're not being loud enough. You're not out there pounding the pavement, so to speak, and helping them to be seen. And so it just takes one right person to hear the message in just the right way, and it will spread like wildfire. So it's up to us to just kind of start playing around with the context of all of these things and seeing, can I find a different way in so that it resonates with the right people? Okay, so here is the live demo time. Let's go ahead and switch the screen. Can you tell my voice is starting to go? That's what happens when you have to do the class twice in a row. Ah! Okay, well, let's go ahead and we're going to switch over to Chrome here. Okay, so now we're over here in the ChatGPT. Now I created 3 different versions of this particular process. And the reason I did that is I wanted to show you the difference between the types of input that you're going to get back, or the output you're going to get back from your input. So the first one here is I got into Launch Lab GPT. So this is the GPT I created for those who took the Launch Lab GPT masterclass. So you can have access to that, this particular GPT. It understands launch strategies and everything that we talked about in that class, but it now also has the context for the backlist marketing as well. So I just wanted to see, like, ChatGPT itself should have contextual memory of me, of my books, and all of the information based off of what we had, even if it is a custom GPT that I'm using. So I was curious to see, like, how would it answer this question if I don't give it any more context than this? And so as you can see, I knew right away it was going to be generic AF because I was like, hi, friend. It didn't even name me by name. I was like, that's sus. So as you can see, it goes through and it just gives some generic advice. September is prime time for backlist promotion. Here's why. Soul shift season, seasonal readers start to wake up, promotion, layering wins. Like it tells you why certain aspects are going to help you. The genre sweet spots for September. It, romantasy, it has cookbooks and entertainment guides, historical fiction, literary fiction. It doesn't remember if I'm any of these things. So it's saying, here's some other general advice, what's your genre vibe, match your book to reader mindset, blah, 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 right? And so it's saying like next right step, one at a time, because so it remembers the neurodivergent part, but it doesn't remember anything else. What genre does your backlist fall into? So it doesn't remember who I am or what I do. And so that's as far as I went with that, because I just wanted to show you it doesn't retain as much context as you think it will, especially since it's moved over to Chat 5. And it's not, I don't think because of Chat 5 itself, I think it's just that it's still in that integration phase. Okay, so then I tried again, same custom GPT. I gave it the SOP that I uploaded into when we were creating the projects for the ChatGPT PA. So again, different masterclass. The projects are a little bit different, but I wanted to download that or keep that particular one because it had all of my backlist titles. I have the title, I have the series, I have the link to my personal website because I always want it promoting through my website. The book blurb, I think I do have a couple of characters in there, but I don't do all of them. That was actually a question that I ended up getting, was do I list all the characters? But that's not necessarily the case. I think I list just some of the main characters to be like keeping an eye out for. And that's about it. And so that's all in this particular SOP. So here's the prompt that I gave it. It's just a little bit bigger, letting it know, here's my backlist. And then I want you to, based on seasonal themes, tropes, reader interest, let me know which one has the strongest candidate for a 30-day promotion push right now. So just 3 reasons why this book is the best one. This particular prompt is actually in the PDF guide too. So if you need to access that, make sure you go back to the PDF, okay? So it went ahead, took a look at my list, and then it said that the best book would be Secret Legacy, Book 1 of the Windhaven Witches. And here's the reason why. Seasonal vibes are aligned perfectly. So it's the beginning of the new school year, college in specific. It has themes like necromancy, haunted houses, the veil thinning, all things that are going to be happening here very soon. We're entering Virgo season literally today, and it's the new moon in Virgo, which is awesome. It's the start of a completed series. So of course that's a bingeable way to be able to access the full series. And then it hits the mystical school and reluctant heroine tropes. So it gave me that information, right? Which I liked. I didn't go through with whatever it was asking me to do after that because I had different prompts throughout that PDF that I wanted to go through. So I ignored what it asked me and I just kept going based off of the prompts. So I gave it my actual book. So the PDF of my book, I took a screenshot of the first page of 5-star reviews from the book. And then I gave it the book blurb so that it had a little more access, a little more context to Secret Legacy other than what was in that SOP. And it says, obviously, love the energy. That's great. And so now it's creating, because I wanted it, sorry to scroll too fast. I wanted to create 3 social media post ideas, 2 newsletter subject lines plus hooks, hook paragraphs, 2 ad copy options for BookBub or Amazon style, and then 3 blog article ideas. Okay. Now, I wouldn't necessarily be using any ad copy, and I think I said this in the original one. I I wanted it to do it because I like ad copy for the copywriting, the sales copywriting of it. I will typically, if I like the information, turn it into a script for like TikTok or a YouTube short. Okay, so it gave me the social media post ideas. So here's the first one. Just to give a little insights, I could be using this as the description, or I could just totally like do a video on it and have that same vibe going for it. Like perfect. All these things are just great. Newsletter subject lines and hook paragraphs. So like subject lines. And I giggled about this because if Hogwarts was haunted and your invite came by mistake, Hogwarts was haunted, but you know, whatever. So it gave the two different hook and subject lines. It gave me the ad copies and then some blog or article ideas because I use Substack right now. And so these would be perfect to be able to post on Substack, right? Helps me to gain more eyeballs and visibility on what I'm doing in a new platform. I'm like, perfect. So now I moved on to step 3, which is offer 10 ideas to reintroduce this backlist book, included bundle suggestions, discount strategies, bonus content, blah, 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 all the things. So it went, of course. And I thought these were really great. Like some of these were things that I would never have thought of. And some of them are, you know, so like offer Secret Legacy for 99 cents or free within 48 hours, but only during a specific time window, right? I liked the conversation of the veil is thinnest after dark. And then that whole thing, that was pretty cool. The Legacy Unleashed. So create a discount starter pack. So it's Secret Legacy and Sin Eater, which is a like a short story, but then have like a downloadable Windhaven student ID card. I was like, that'd be fun to create. That'd be really cool. I can do that. Or a Spotify playlist. I don't have Spotify, but I do have Amazon Music, which would be super cute to create like an accepted student. Like, how cool would that be to create a playlist like that? Anyway, so I was like, that might be fun. But it gave me a whole bunch of them because I asked it to come up with 10, right? So I went through, created 10 things, and I was like, that's a good place to stop because some of these I would definitely like to do. And then I can ask it to help me figure out how to put it into the next 30 or even 60 days, because technically September and October would work really well for this particular series. But now we're going to go over to ChatGPT and take a look at GPT-5 and the PA. So this is, I accessed GPT-5. I used Auto for this particular one, but this is the PA, okay? So this is a custom GPT project. It is not a GPT. So like it's not a custom GPT. I know it's weird. It sounds more complicated than it is. There is a masterclass on knowing the difference between the three, you know, standard chat, custom GPT, and a project, just so you know. So like if you're really confused on this, we have another deep dive into that. Okay. What's cool about this is, number one, I have given all of the context of my books, my businesses, how I want to be spoken to, how like the things that are interesting to me, like all the things. So like astrology, all of the stuff. And so what it does then, and I didn't even ask it or give it context, right? I said, based on what you know of my books, which backlist titles or series would be best to promote for the month of September? This is that same question that I asked the Launch Lab GPT originally, right? But instead of giving the generic BS, it was like, oh, September's screaming Windhaven season at you, Carissa. Like, number one, first two things in that first sentence, it already knew who I was, right? Here's why. And then it gave information as to why, like astrological energy lines up so perfectly. It knew September has a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th and a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo on the 21st. And today is Virgo season start, and it's also the new moon in Virgo. We have 2 new moons in Virgo. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, I digress. But what's cool about this, as it goes through, it's referencing and letting you know that it was pulling it from the documents that are uploaded into your project. So it's not just guessing. It's not just kind of sort of remembering it. It's literally taking a look at all the information that you have put into its project so that it can contextualize it and then, you know, send everything back to you in a way that's going to make more sense to you. For me, it mentioned the Windhaven Kickstarter that I was going to do in September, October, but I chose not to because I'm still in the process of doing book fulfillment for the 2 Kickstarters I already did this year. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need the extra, the extra crazy right now. So I chose not to do that, but I would like to do a promo push. So here's where we're at, right? Okay, so it says like energetic fidelity, promoting Windhaven keeps your visibility aligned with your front and center Q3 and Q4 shift. Dirty development closes out July, August, which that part's done. It doesn't understand that I'm going to be launching it on my store quite yet because I haven't added that to the SOP. But what it's saying then is best moves. It gives clean energy. It's like you can use your newsletter, all the things, right? I'm like, great. So I've decided not to do the Kickstarter. It goes, okay, well, that's good. Well, here's what we can do for a seasonal promotion plan. It gives me some ideas of which date is energetically aligned with something because that's something that's interesting to me. And so it gives me all sorts of different like phases, rhythms for platforms to be able to kind of like go with things. So much good stuff. And then I said, well, technically the Windhaven books are 5 years old this year. Like, is there anything we can do for the anniversary? Again, it gave me some cool things that I can create that could help me to sell Windhaven all over again, but to make this particular launch more successful or more interesting in a way that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise, right? So we've got things like the anniversary, physical swag ideas, limited edition type stuff, or how to frame it, like Swiftie style. Because I love how Taylor Swift has been doing Easter eggs, and she's been doing it for a very long time. And I've been doing it through my books, but I haven't been as great in my marketing. So it gave me some Taylor Swift style Easter eggs to do it in that regard as well. Oh my gosh, my voice is going to pop off and not in like the, oh my gosh, everything's great way. It's going to be like, boop, and I won't be able to speak. Okay, so hopefully you can see the difference, right? You can see that each one, as we built upon each other, got better and better with the context and the information that it was giving us. It was giving us insights in a way that we probably would never have thought of before. And also it just gets better and more personalized as you go up through the different ways that you're going to use ChatGPT. So that first one, even though it was in Launch Lab, it has the context that I've built in it for like the launches and backlist titles and all those things. It has that context in it because that's been built into the custom GPT. But it was basically, in essence, like I said, using a standard chat. It had no other context other than like what I would recommend. So hopefully that was pretty clear. Okay, I'm going to share one more little bit of my slides for you guys, because we've got some next steps and bonuses for you. So like I said, we've got the backlist monetization system PDF. I created a 17, I think, page PDF that you can download. It will be in your email, like I said. So the email where you found the link to get this particular video. If you're in the masterclass membership, it will also be inside of that whole thing, and it will be like you can click on the download section and it should be right there as well. So what it has is like insights into these 6 steps on like how to utilize it. It will help you remember like what each section is for. It gives you prompts, why it's important, that sort of thing, right? So that way you can utilize whatever makes sense in your brain. And that replay will be, it says emailed shortly, but you've already gotten it if you're watching this. So, all right. So I'm going to do the Q&A quick. It's a little bit different, obviously, this time because my people have left me and I'm recording this again. But Sherry asked the question, should I use Launch Lab, the custom GPT, or her PA project if it's only partially finished? And I told her, you definitely want to use the PA. Now, remember, as you create your PA, what's cool about it is like, it just gets better and better. So if you put anything into it, it has some context. So I would utilize that before I would do the custom GPT that I created. And the reason for it is it's always tied back to you. So use your PA and have it do this work for you, for sure. And if you don't have it, then like I said, you can upload information. If you're going to do the custom GPT, it has frameworks built into it. It understands the launches and the strategies, including the 6 steps here. It just doesn't have your information. So I would create like an SOP, standard operating procedure of your author business, your author tone of your books, and include that information so that it understands like what your books are before it tries to give you information. If you already know which book you want to do, go ahead and just do it. You can skip around any of the different steps. If you yourself are high strategic and you figured out what you wanted, pick it up wherever it feels like things are sticky. Okay. All right. And then she said, how do you find, because I was talking about ChatGPT 5 in the original one. So I'll show this to you. I think I kind of did it briefly. How do you switch over from ChatGPT 5 like into the one where it deep dives and thinks a little bit stronger? So Chat defaults into this auto one, and it says it decides how long to think. Most of the time, the fast answers is what it's going to do, and most of the time, the fast answers are fine. But I have found that there are certain times when that is not the case, especially in the beginning when Chat 5 was first rolling out. And so I would say thinking would be better, especially if it has to take in more contextual information. So if you're trying to have it pull in a lot of different information from like tropes and your particular books, you want it to read your PDFs, whatever the case might be, do the thinking one, but just know that it's going to take a little minute to go through everything and create the stuff. So you might have to get up and go make yourself a cup of coffee and grab a cookie or something, because it will take a little bit of time. It's not going to go as long as like deep research mode, but it will take a little bit. Okay. In custom GPTs right now, if it was originally created, oh, everything's been switched. If everything was originally created in Chat 4, which the legacy models are here. So if you go down to model, legacy model, and then 4.0, it was saying 4 there, but it's been updated since, and so it says 5. You can change it in the middle of both a custom GPT now and the projects, which is really great. But what's weird about it is that when I was originally teaching everything before, it was basically that you couldn't switch in the middle of a conversation with those two things, or with one of those two things. And I want to say it was the custom GPT, but you can now, so that's great. Let's see, what else was the questions? Let's see here. Oh, Terry was asking, she said that she was in the process of creating the, I have like, I can't even remember which class it was now, where I was teaching how when you're creating your outline, or when you're creating your books at all, if you've created anything, you can ask Chat to take a look at your chapter that's been written and give like a small little synopsis of what happened in the chapter. And what I usually will do is copy and paste that into my Scrivener file, so that if I'm trying to keep track of what's happening within each chapter, I don't have to read the whole chapter. I can just read what Chat summarized, right? So she was going through her book. She had like 25 chapters or something already written, and something had happened. She had to go somewhere else, do something else. And when she came back, she couldn't find like what she had written. And so she was asking ChatGPT to recreate the synopses. Unfortunately, though, what ended up happening is she couldn't find, for some reason, chapter 8. Like it did a fine job creating the summaries for most of her chapters, but it, for whatever reason, couldn't find 8. And she would ask it over and over again, no, do chapter 8. And it would try to give her chapter 18. And she asked, why would it ignore my request to do chapter 8? And so there's a couple of reasons that could be. Number one, it could be that it didn't think there was a chapter 8. It couldn't find it contextually in any of the chats that she had before. And so it just made the assumption that she meant 18, because it does take leaps. Chat, like if you write something and it doesn't, like, it's not like fully written properly, like the sentence structure is not great, or you misspell a word or whatever, it is allowed to take leaps and understand the context of what it thinks you're saying, but it's not always right. And so that would have been my first guess. Second guess could have been that it was just too far up in whatever chat thread she was, and it lost the context for it. So it might have existed there, and for whatever reason, it got lost. Why the first 7 chapters were able to be pulled in, it could actually be because I think when this was happening, it could have been rolling out between 4 and 5. My biggest thing is that if you're missing something and you know you've done it in chat before, what I always would recommend doing is doing a search. Like, it allows you to do a search through all of your chats now. It's not ideal, because obviously if you're going to create something, you're going to want to find the information more quickly than that. I wish that we could have like special folders within our projects, you know, like for each book, for instance, so that your ChatGPT PA can stay one project. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And so I do end up creating projects for each book as well. It's a little bit putsy because then it doesn't have the same context as your PA, but you can ask your PA to create like a mini diagnostic instructions so that it understands some of the context that that particular project understands. So there is that. You can also duplicate projects. So you could duplicate it and just give it the context for your like new book, for instance, and do it that way. It's just a lot of extra work in that regard. But all of those are reasons why that could have happened. But if you ever find yourself stuck and you need to locate something, definitely hit the search button and see if you can do it. Like, if you can think of the context, like context that would have been inside that chapter to do it. In fact, you could like go obviously over to your Scrivener file and copy like a chunk of it. If you put it in there to have it summarize for you, you could have done it that way, where it's like just copy a paragraph and put it in there. You're going to find whatever chat threads had that huge chunk of text in there. If it still doesn't find it, I would just honestly like do it again, like pull that whole chapter, put it into the new ChatGPT like thread, if you're going to do a new thread, and then just ask it to summarize that particular chapter and see what it does. So there you go. Hopefully all of that was helpful. Hopefully you can still hear me now that my voice is dead and I've had to re-record this. And it is what it is. It's been kind of an interesting day. I don't know. For whatever reason, I've had to double down on understanding it. So there must have been something here that you needed to hear, or I needed to hear, that was different this time around than what happened last time. So at any rate, enjoy. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this class was great for you. And if you have any questions or any insights as to what you'd like to see coming down the road, definitely let me know. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll talk to you soon.